In my first video, I showed you that your business probably has electric belts, work that is done through habit and it's not out of necessity. In my second video, I gave you 3 questions to find where you're wasting 10 hours per week. But here's the problem. Finding wasted time is one thing. Actually eliminating it, that requires a complete system. Because without a systematic approach, you'll identify an electric belt and get all excited and try and fix it and rush at the problem. And before you know it, you're back in the old system. So today I'm going to give you the complete methodology. This is my signature framework. The factory floor audit. The 4-step process of completely eliminating electric belts from your business. This is the framework. Let's break it down. I'm Arno van Zyl and I need to set proper expectations before we dive in. This methodology didn't come from managing hundreds of clients. It comes from 20 years of running hospitality businesses, drowning in exactly the same processes that I'm showing you how to eliminate, working online for the last 5 years, and then working with AI for the last 3. It was all filled with unnecessary reports, pointless meetings, and processes that existed because that's how we've always done it. And over the last 5 months, as I've been deep in studying AI and business transformation, I realized the problem isn't that we don't have good tools. I mean, they're absolutely amazing. The problem is that we're using them on broken, outdated systems, and AI isn't going to fix that. We're doing exactly what factories did in the early 1900s. They are powering old belt-driven systems with electric motors, new technology, and they're not seeing the gains that they're supposed to. So I developed this framework based on first principles. How would you redesign your business if you had to start today? Not how to optimize what you currently have, but if you had to start from scratch with the AI technology, with all your experience that you have, all the failures that you've gone through, what would you redesign and just keep the necessary bits? And that's what the factory floor audit does. It's a systemic way to question everything, eliminate what is unnecessary, and redesign what remains, and then add AI. 4 phases. Each one builds on the last. And by the end, you don't just have a more efficient business. You have a completely different way of thinking about work. Let me show you how it works. The factory floor audit has 4 phases. Phase 1, expose the belts. This is where we identify what is unnecessary. You map your current systems and run them through diagnostic questions to identify your electric belts. Phase 2 is questioning the factory. This is where you challenge every single assumption. You ask why until you hit bedrock, a minimum of 5 times, until you get to the actual outcome that you need, not the process that you inherited. And then phase 3, the redesign from scratch. First principles thinking. This is where you design the ideal system with 0 constraints, zero-based design. What would this look like if I had to build it today? And then phase 4, the final phase for a reason, AI amplification. And only now, after you've redesigned your whole system, do you add the technology. AI amplifies good systems. It makes bad systems fail faster. Most businesses do this backwards. They start with phase 4. Ooh, let's automate this, but they never question whether this process or system should actually exist at all. The factory floor audit forces you to start with elimination. Technology comes last, not first. Now let me walk you through each phase in detail. So, phase 1, finding your belts. The goal is to identify what is unnecessary. This is detective work. You are mapping out your current reality and identifying the things that exist out of habit and not out of necessity. And here is how you do it. Step 1, you pick one system. Don't try and audit your whole business at once. Pick one system at a time. And it's generally the one that causes you the most pain. It could be a reporting process, client onboarding, your internal meetings, your email management, your invoicing workflow, whatever. The thing that causes you the most hassles, that eats the most of your time, that's the biggest pain in the ass, that is the one that you start with. Then step 2, you map the current state. Document meticulously how this whole system works. Every single step, the technology you use, who gets information from where, what do you put it into. Every single step in detail. The more detail, the better. Don't skip steps because they seem obvious, because these are generally the ones that you can eliminate first. Then write down what triggers the process. What happens for this system to get started? Who is involved? How long does each step take? What tools are used? Where does information get stuck? Where's your bottleneck? What frustrates people about this? You're basically creating a visual map of reality. You want to show and see step by step, this is the process that's being followed, so that you can start seeing where you can start eliminating things. Not how it's supposed to work, how it actually works in real life. Now, step 3, run the electric belt test. Now you can run the diagnostic questions that I spoke about in the previous video. Question 1, are you using AI as a technology or any technology to make the step faster? If yes, it's a red flag. You accepted that this step exists without questioning it. Step 2, if this had to disappear tomorrow, what would actually happen? And be honest about this one. Would the world collapse? Would your business crush? Would someone cry in a corner? If the answer is not much or I'm not sure, then this is definitely an electric belt. Then question 3, does this exist because it's actually necessary or because this is how we've always done it? Listen for things like, this is just how we've always done it, or it's just part of the process, or compliance needs it to be done this way. These are all red flags that you can look at. And then question 4, if you had to redesign this whole system, this whole process from scratch, would you build it the same way? If no, then you're looking at an electric belt. So step 4, classify what you have found. For each step in the system, all the ones that you've just mapped out, put each one in one of 3 categories. Category 1 is pure elimination, work that you can just cut out completely with no consequence. It's not necessary. You can see clearly that this is useless. Get rid of it. That's category 1. Category 2 is transformation, work that has a valid purpose, but the system is outdated. It can use an overhaul. It can use a little bit of tweaks to get done better. It needs a complete redesign. And then category 3 is optimization, work that is absolutely necessary and needs to exist, but it can be automated or improved to be done faster or whatever. And if you look at these 3 categories and you look at your system, honestly, category 3 is going to be your smallest list. By the end of phase 1, you'll have a map that shows you where you're spending your time, which parts are electric belts, and what's actually necessary versus what is habit. That is your foundation. Now you are ready to question everything. So phase 2 is questioning the factory. The goal here is to challenge every assumption about what is actually necessary. This is where most people become a little bit uncomfortable, because you're not just questioning the how, you're questioning the why. And a lot of people don't always get the why, or they don't want to admit why something isn't working and they've been doing it for years. And then they start realizing, oh, I've been spending time on this. Because you're not just questioning the how, you're questioning the why, the philosophy behind the step. Here's how it works. Step 1 is the why ladder. Take the system that you mapped in phase 1 and ask why 5 times, not less, 5 times. Not why do we do it this way, but why does this exist at all? Start there. Let me show you what this looks like in a real world example. Monthly status reports. Why do we create the monthly status report? Then the answer would be to update stakeholders on progress. Then you ask again, why do stakeholders need monthly updates? Then the answer could be something like, so that they know how the project is going. Then the next why would be, why do they need to know how the project is going? So they can intervene if something is wrong, for instance. Then you can ask why again. Why do they need a monthly report before they can intervene? And then the question would probably be, I don't know. I guess they don't. See what happened there? By the 5th why, you realize they don't need a monthly report. They need real-time visibility and alerts when something goes wrong. Then you get to the core of the reason for this process, the why. The report is solving the wrong problem. Then building on this, step 2, define the bedrock outcome. Once you hit the bedrock, the fundamental reason why this process actually exists, write it down. The format is, the actual outcome we need is X. Not we need a monthly report, but we need the stakeholders to feel confident that projects are on track and raise alerts if necessary. That's your bedrock. That's the actual reason for the report, is because this is the result that you want from the report. Everything else is just method, and methods can change. And then step 3, challenge the sacred cows. This is where you face resistance, including from yourself. Face it, you're going to get that. Every business has sacred cows, something that feels absolutely untouchable. It's always worked this way. This is the pillars that our foundation of that our company was built on. We have to do it this way because that's how the client wants. Really? Are you sure about that? Or is that just what you've assumed? Have you ever asked the client, listen, what exactly do you want from us? Do you want to feel confident that the project is progressing properly? Or do you want a 6-page, 10-page report every month? What would you prefer? I've seen businesses spend years on processes that they thought were required by law, but they weren't. They were just, the outcome had to be something specific, but the way that it had to be done is not defined. So as long as the end result is X, how you get to that end result doesn't really matter. The end result matters. Or they're creating deliverables that they thought the client expected, but the client never asked for it and they don't care about it. So in phase 2, you question everything. Is this legally required? Check the actual regulation, not your interpretation of the regulation. Does the client actually want this? Ask them. Don't assume. What would work best for them? Is this an industry standard? And does it mean that it's necessary? Or does it just mean that everyone's doing it wrong? This phase is uncomfortable because honestly, you're dismantling things that you've built, things that you've thought was important. And it's sometimes uncomfortable facing the truth that not anymore. They're not relevant anymore. But here's what I've learned. Most requirements are just habits wearing a fancy disguise. Once you strip away the disguise, you see how many things is unnecessary. This brings us to phase 3, the complete redesign. Here, the goal is to redesign the whole system with no constraints. And this is the fun part. Because now that you've identified what is unnecessary and you've challenged your assumptions, you get to ask, if I was building this today, what would it look like? Here's the process. Step 1 is the zero-based design. Start with your bedrock outcome from phase 2. In the example we used, the stakeholders needed confidence that the project is running properly and everything is on time. Now you design a system with that outcome in mind, starting from that outcome and work your way back. No legacy thinking, no, this is how we've always done it, and with AI thrown into the mix. Just what gives us the simplest, fastest way to achieve this outcome? For the status report example, imagine this. The new system being a live dashboard showing the project health. AI monitors data and flags risks automatically, and stakeholder gets alerted only when something really major changes. No monthly report needed. The result? The 8 hours that you spend compiling that report every month, gone. Zero. And the outcome? The same or even better. Your client now has real-time updates on the project progress. Step 2, and this is also an important one, the human role redefinition. And this one is critical. When you redesign systems, you basically changing what people do, their value within the company. So you need to ask, what's the new role for humans in this redesigned system? Not how do we make humans faster at the old tasks, but what should humans be doing that they are not doing now that they don't need all the admin work? So as an example, the old role is the project manager spends 8 hours creating a status report. The new role is where the project manager spends time on strategic risk assessment, relationship building with stakeholders, process improvement, team development. The value shifts from administrative to strategic. What you actually hired this person for. That's what the redesign does. And this is where I get really excited because it doesn't take away people or replace them. It elevates them into new positions and new purpose for their role. And a lot of people used to define themselves by this role and what it means to them. And obviously they're going to feel, oh, I'm being replaced by AI. But you should always frame it as, no, I'm actually elevating your position because now you get to do the work that you were actually hired to do. Get out from behind the computer, stop the admin task that was eating all your time and actually do what you are skilled to do, what you are hired to do, your job, not your task. Then, step 3, Test the thinking, not the technology. This is the step that most people skip, and this is why your new redesign could possibly fail. Before you invest in technology, you need to prove that the thinking behind the system actually works. How? Simulate it manually. I call this the Wizard of Oz technique, where the magic happens behind the curtain, but in the meantime, it's just you doing it manually. So, as an example, instead of building an automated dashboard straight from the get go, you use something like Google Sheets that you update every single day. Now, I know it sounds work intensive, but this is proving the concept. Instead of AI generated alerts, you manually check the data and then send alerts when necessary. Why? Because if the system doesn't work if it's manual and simple, it won't work when you add AI into it and replace it with AI. First, prove that the system works physically, manually, and then once that system works, then you add AI. Because if it doesn't work if the process is manual and simple, it's definitely not going to work when it's automated and complex. Phase 3 gives you the blueprint. What the redesigned system looks like, what is the human role inside the system, and proof that the thinking works through manual simulation. Now, only once this is done, you are ready for technology. And this is where phase 4 comes in, the exciting part, the part that we've all been waiting for, AI amplification. The goal here is to add technology to amplify the system that you just proved in phase 3 works. And please note, this is phase 4, the last step in the process, not phase 1. Most businesses start here, and that's why the AI projects fail. They didn't go through the whole process of first finding the electric belt, then finding what can be eliminated and breaking it down to the bare bones of what the system should actually be, then testing whether it actually works, making it as simple as possible, and then only add AI. Most companies, most places, most businesses just skip this completely and they jump to this part, which is wrong. And this is why they don't see the gains that they thought they would. They use AI to automate broken systems. Here, you're using AI to amplify redesign systems. That's a huge difference. And here is how phase 4 works. Step 1, match the AI capabilities with the task. Look at your redesigned system from phase 3. For each remaining task, ask yourself which AI capability can handle this task. So as you can see on the screen, these are the AI capabilities. Monitoring, watching for changes and flagging anomalies. Generation, creating content, text, images, and summaries. Analysis, finding patterns and making predictions. Classification, sorting, categorizing, routing. Summarization, condensing information. And conversation, interacting with humans. So as an example, the task is to monitor project data for risks. The AI compatibility is monitoring and analysis. The task generates stakeholder summary. The AI capability is summarization and generation. The task alert when intervention is needed, and the AI capability is classification and monitoring. Step 2, select the technology, not the tools yet. Most people think, what AI tools should I use? The better question is, what is the simplest way to achieve this capability? Sometimes it's a purpose-built AI tool. Sometimes it's just ChatGPT with a good prompt. And sometimes it's a free automation tool like Zapier. Don't over-engineer it. The goal is to amplify the system, not impress people with fancy technology. I mean, you can go really way out there and make it as complex as possible, but this is not what we're going for. We're going for simplicity, something that can just be plugged in and works well. Then step 3, implement it in stages. Don't flip the switch on everything all at once. Your staff is going to freak out. Your business might not work. Start it gradually. Stage 4 is a gradual process. Week 1 to 2, you set up the technology with a basic functionality. Week 3 to 4, you run the new system parallel to the old system as like a safety net to make sure that it works, and if it doesn't, you still have your actual running system. And then week 5 to 6, you transition completely over to the new system and you retire the old system. And then week 7 to 8, you optimize based on real world use cases. You'll see once you start using it, okay, this can be tweaked a little bit, that can be tweaked a little bit, and then you do those things. And this is the other critical part. Train people in their new role, not just the new tools. Most change management fails because you teach someone years how to use a new dashboard, but you don't teach them this is what your job looks like now that you don't have to create reports anymore. Phase 4 is as much about human transformation as it is about technology. People still need to feel valuable inside their new role, and they need to understand the part that they play in the business and not feel like AI has just taken away their most important part. And that's the psychology behind really involving people and showing them their new role. All right, so that's the complete full factory floor audit. 4 phases. 1. Expose the belt. Find what is unnecessary. 2. Question the factory. Challenge your assumptions. 3. Redesign from scratch. Create the ideal system. And then 4. AI amplification. Add technology last. Now, if you're watching this and you're thinking, ooh, where do I start? This is my advice. Start small. Don't try to audit your whole business. Pick one system causing pain, something that takes you between 5 and 10 hours per week to do. Run that system through the 4 phases and then prove to yourself that it works. Then tackle the next one. Success builds momentum. Once you see that the process works on one system, you can move on to the next one with more confidence. Expect resistance, even from yourself. The hardest part when you implement this new methodology isn't going to be the technology, it's going to be getting rid of the old habits. And it's a mindset shift, and that is sometimes quite hard. You will want to optimize instead of eliminate. That's human nature. You will defend systems that do not need to exist, and you will do that. Trust me. You will think, but we have to do this. The client wants it. Compliance wants it. That guy wants it. She wants it. But challenge that system. That's normal. The factory floor audit forces you to think differently. And thinking different is uncomfortable. Our brains are not comfortable with getting out of the box. But that is where true transformation happens. And a final tip, document everything. As you go through each phase, write it down. Not just for you, but for your team as well. Because the real power in this methodology is that it can become repeatable. Once it works for one system, once you see the steps that you went through to make this system work, and you see that this system actually works, and you've had massive success with it, you've written it all down, it becomes a blueprint that your team can follow with every other system in your company. You audit one system, then another, and you build momentum that way. And before you know it, your whole business has been redesigned. And eventually, does this even need to exist becomes the way that your whole business thinks. That's when you become really and truly future ready. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. This methodology is really simple to understand, but quite difficult to do because it requires you to question things that you've been doing for years. Your baby, the thing that you've been building half your life or for a couple of years, now you need to start questioning how you've built it. And it's uncomfortable. I get it. It requires you to be brutally honest about what's necessary and what is not. And sometimes you're just too close to your business to see it clearly. That's why I created 2 resources for you to help. The first is a complete factory floor audit guide. It's a free download that walks you through all 4 phases step by step, just to help guide you along the way. The link is in the description. The second one is the AI Power Hour. This is where I personally walk you through phase 1, exposing the electric belts within your business. 60 minutes. We map out the systems together. And I guarantee you, I'll find at least 3 electric belts that you didn't see. That link is also below. I developed this methodology because I spent 20 years drowning in unnecessary work, inflated fluff that wasted my time. And I don't want that for you. Because here's what I've learned. The businesses that thrive in the age of AI isn't the one with the best tools. They'll be the ones that question what needs to exist at all. That's factory floor redesign thinking. And that is what this channel is about. If this methodology made sense to you and you're ready to start redesigning broken systems, hit subscribe. I'm publishing videos every week on how to apply this thinking in real business challenges. Next week, I'll be showing you how to apply the factory floor audit to real systems, client onboarding, reporting, meetings, all of it. Real examples, step by step. Thanks for sticking with me through this one. It's been a long one, but this is the foundation. This is where it all starts. Everything builds from here. Go download the guide, pick one system, and start with phase 1. I'll see you next week.